Xena watched the blue planet through the viewing window of her spaceship. She was from the Celesti race, tall beings with blue skin and silver markings across their faces. Her people had been watching Earth for many years, studying humans from afar. They had decided it was time to make contact. Xena was chosen for this mission because she knew more about humans than anyone else in her species. She had studied their languages, cultures, and behaviors for 20 years. The plan was simple: land in a remote area, meet with a small group of humans, and start talks between the two species. Xena felt nervous as her small ship entered Earth atmosphere. This was her first time seeing the planet up close, and the gravity felt strange on her body. Landed her ship in a forest area in a place humans called Montana. According to her research, this area had few people and wide open spaces, perfect for a first meeting. She stepped out of her ship and breathed Earth air for the first time. It felt thick and rich compared to the air on her homeworld. Xena checked her translator device and set out toward the small human town 5 miles away. She wore a long coat to hide her blue skin, knowing humans might be scared by her look. The town was smaller than she expected. Just a few buildings along a main road. A sign said, "Welcome to Pine Creek Population 342X." Xena walked slowly, watching humans go about their day. They were shorter than her people, with such variety in their colors and shapes. This surprised her, since her own people all looked very similar. A man stood outside a building watching her with curious eyes. He seemed different from the others, somehow more aware of his surroundings. Xena felt drawn to him without knowing why. The man approached her with a friendly smile. "Hello there, you must be new in town," he said. Xena nodded. "Yes, I am new here." Her translator worked well, but she worried her accent might sound strange. "My name is Jack," he said, extending his hand. Xena remembered that humans shook hands when meeting. She reached out, trying to copy the gesture. When their hands touched, she felt a strange warmth spread up her arm. Jack seemed to notice something too, his eyes widening slightly. "You have cold hands," he said. Xena nodded. "My body temperature is lower than yours." She realized her mistake immediately. Normal humans would not say such a thing, but Jack just smiled wider. "You know, I had a feeling you might be different when I saw you walking into town." "How different?" Xena asked carefully. Jack looked around, then spoke quietly. "Maybe we should talk somewhere more private." He led her to a small building at the edge of town. It was his home, a simple place with wooden walls and few things inside. Jack offered her a seat and a drink, which Xena politely refused. "I know you're not from here," he said finally. Xena tensed, ready to leave if needed. "Not from Pine Creek?" Xena asked, trying to avoid his meaning. Jack laughed softly. "Not from Earth?" Xena stared at him, surprised by his calm statement. "How do you know?" Jack sat across from her, his eyes kind and open. "Because I've been watching the skies for 30 years, he said. "I saw your ship land in the forest." Instead of fear, Xena saw only wonder in his face. "You are not afraid?" she asked. Jack shook his head. "I've been waiting my whole life to meet someone like you." There was something special about this human, Xena thought. Most humans in her studies showed fear of the unknown, but Jack showed curiosity instead. "Why were you watching the skies?" Xena asked. Jack smiled sadly. "When I was a child, I saw something in the sky, something that nobody believed. My parents said I made it up. My friends laughed at me. But I know what I saw. Since then I've been looking up, hoping to see it again, to prove I wasn't crazy." Xena felt something stir inside her. Among her people, such curiosity was rare. They followed rules and plans, never seeking more than what was given. But humans especially, this human seemed to yearn for the unknown. Jack stood up suddenly. "Would you like to see my research room?" He led her to another room in his house. The walls were covered with star maps, pictures of the night sky, and drawings of spacecraft. Some looked similar to ships from her world. "You have been watching us for a long time," Xena said. Jack nodded. "Not just me. There are others like me all over the world. We share information, talk about sightings. Most people think we're crazy." Xena touched one of his drawings. "This is very close to a ship from my world." Jack smiled with pride. I knew it. They talked for hours. Xena told him about her world, her people, their technology. Jack told her about his life in the small town, how he worked as the local fix-it man, repairing things for others, how the town people thought he was strange but kind. As night fell, Xena knew she should return to her ship. I must go, she said, standing up. Jack looked disappointed. Will you come back tomorrow? Xena hesitated. Her mission was to make contact with human officials, not spend time with one curious man. But something about Jack made her want to know more. Yes, she said, I will return tomorrow. Jack walked her to the edge of town. The stars were bright overhead in the clear night sky. Xena looked up, finding the star that was her sun, so far away. Tomorrow, I will show you more of our town, Jack said. Xena nodded, feeling a strange excitement. This was not part of her mission, but she wanted to learn more about humans, about Jack. As she walked back to her ship, Xena thought about how different this first contact was from what she had planned. Her leaders expected reports on human technology and resources. Instead, she found herself thinking about one human smile and curious eyes. Perhaps there was more to learn here than her mission stated. Perhaps the most important things to know about humans could not be found in official meetings. Xena entered her ship and sent a message home. First contact made, she wrote, proceeding with caution. She did not mention Jack some discoveries she wanted to keep for herself. The next day, Xena returned to the small town as promised. Jack waited at the edge of town, his face lighting up when he saw her. You came back, he said, sounding surprised and happy. Xena nodded. I said I would. Jack smiled. Humans often doubt words, but I see your people keep promises. He offered to show her around Pine Creek. The town was small but full of interesting human activities. They walked past a place Jack called a diner, where humans gathered to eat and talk, a school where young humans learned about their world, a store where they traded money for goods. Everything seemed inefficient compared to her world, but there was something charming about it. The humans they passed looked at Xena with curious eyes. Jack introduced her as a friend visiting. From far away, most humans smiled and welcomed her. Some looked at her strange clothes and tall blue-tinted skin with questions in their eyes, but were too polite to ask. One small human child pointed at her and asked her mother why the lady was so blue. The mother hushed the child, but Xena smiled. Children on her world were the same, always asking direct questions. Jack took her to a place at the edge of town, a large open field where they could see the mountains in the distance. This is my favorite spot, he said, sitting on the grass. Xena sat beside him, feeling the strange earth plants under her hands. On my world, we have no grass like this, she said. Our plants are harder, more like your trees. Jack looked interested. Tell me more about your world. Xena described the twin suns that shone on her planet, the crystal cities that caught the light and broke it into colors, the floating transport pods that moved people from place to place, the strict rules that kept everyone safe and working together. Jack listened with wide eyes, asking questions that showed he truly wanted to understand. What about families, he asked. Do you have parents, children? Xena nodded, but explained that families on her world were different. Children were raised by the community, not just by their birth parents. Everyone worked for the good of all. No one was alone, but no one was truly close either. It sounds very organized, Jack said, but maybe a bit lonely. Lonely. Xena had never thought of her world that way. Celesti people were always surrounded by others. How could they be lonely? But as she thought about it, she realized Jack might be right. On her world, no one had the kind of connections she saw humans making. The friendly greetings between neighbors, the way the diner owner knew what each person liked to eat. The small kindnesses she had seen as they walked through town. Jack showed her a small metal object he carried in his pocket. This was my father's. He said, it's called a compass. It helps you find your way. He placed it in her hand. The needle moved, pointing north. Such simple technology, but something about the object touched her. This tiny device had helped humans explore their world before they had advanced technology. It showed their desire to move, to find new things, to not stay in one place. When the sun began to set, Jack invited her to his home again. He prepared a meal, careful to check what foods might be safe for her Xena found that she could eat some earth plants, but not their meat. Jack made a salad with vegetables from his garden. They sat at his small table eating together while Jack told stories about growing up in Pine Creek, how he used to climb the mountains as a boy, how he once found a cave with old drawings inside, how he dreamed of traveling to other planets. Why did you stay in this small place? Xena asked if you wanted to see more. Jack looked out the window at the darkening sky. Sometimes life gives you different paths than you planned, he said. My mother got sick. I stayed to care for her after she died. I just never left. There was something to find here too, he added with a smile. He was right about that. In this small human settlement, Xena had discovered more variety and feeling than in her entire world. She told Jack about her mission, how she was supposed to meet with human leaders to discuss official first contact. Jack looked thoughtful. Those leaders don't represent all of us, he said. If you want to know humans, you should meet regular people first. People who live real lives, not political lives. Xena knew her superiors would disagree. They wanted treaties, technology exchanges, resource agreements. But she was starting to think Jack was right. To truly understand humans, she needed to see how they lived, not just how they governed as knight. Jack offered to show her the stars from his viewing spot. He had a device called a telescope. It was primitive compared to her ship systems, but the way he lovingly adjusted it showed his passion. They looked at the stars together, Jack pointing out Earth constellation Xena, showing him where her world orbited. Under the vast night sky, they seemed less different, two beings looking up at the same universe. When it was time for Xena to return to her ship, Jack walked with her to the forest edge. Will you come tomorrow, he asked. Xena knew she should focus on her mission, contact human officials, set up meetings, prepare for the delegation from her world, but she nodded. Yes, I will come. As she walked back to her ship, Xena thought about her world, the perfect order, the clear rules, the known paths. Then she thought about Jack, how his life had taken unexpected turns, how he accepted change with grace, how he found wonder in simple things. She sent another message home, continuing research on human culture. She wrote requiring more time before official contact. Again, she did not mention Jack, not because she feared punishment, but because she wanted to understand her own feelings first. In her ship that night, Xena looked at her reflection, her blue skin silver, face markings, her height also different from humans, from Jack. Yet when they talked, these differences seemed small. It was their minds that connected, their curiosity, their questions, their desire to know more. Xena had never felt this way on her world. There, everyone was similar in looks and thoughts. No one asked the questions Jack asked. No one looked at the stars with such wonder. For the first time, Xena wondered if her perfect world was missing something important, something humans had kept despite their shorter lives and limited technology. Tomorrow she would see Jack again. Tomorrow she might understand more about humans, about herself. Days turned into weeks as Xena continued to visit Jack and learn about human life. Each morning she would leave her ship and walk to town. Jack would be waiting with a new place to show her or a new human custom to explain. She learned about human work watching Jack fix broken machines for the town people. She learned about human play when Jack took her to a lake where people swam and laughed. She learned about human creativity when they visited a woman named Linda who made beautiful paintings. Everything about human life seemed chaotic compared to her world. They did not have assigned jobs or clear social structures. They chose their own paths, sometimes changing direction, many times in one life. It was messy and inefficient, yet Xena could not deny the joy she saw in their faces, the passion they showed for their chosen work, the deep connections they formed with each other. One evening, Jack took her to a gathering in the town center. Humans played music and danced under strings of lights. Xena watched from a distance, feeling unsure. Music on her world was precise and planned. This music changed and flowed, the players sometimes making mistakes but continuing with smiles. The dancers moved in different ways, some with skill, some with only enthusiasm. Jack held out his hand to her. Would you like to try? He asked. Xena hesitated. On her world, dancing was a formal art performed only by trained specialists, but the humans here seemed to dance simply for joy. She took Jack's hand and let him lead her into the group. At first, her movements were stiff as she tried to follow exact patterns. Jack laughed gently. "Don't think, just feel the music," he said. Xena tried to understand. She closed her eyes and listened. The music had a beat, a rhythm, like a heart. She let her body move to that beat. Not planning each step but allowing herself to flow with the sound, Jack smiled at her. "You got it." For a moment, Xena forgot about being different. She forgot about her mission, her world, her responsibilities. She was just a being, moving to music under the stars. When the dance ended, Xena felt something she had never experienced, a kind of happiness that had no name in her language. The next day, Jack had to fix something in a town far away. Xena returned to her ship to check messages and send reports. Her superiors were becoming impatient. "Where are the human leaders?" they asked. "When will official talks begin?" Xena sent back careful responses explaining she was still studying human culture, still preparing for the best approach, but she knew time was running short. Her people would soon send more ships. They expected progress, formal agreements, plans for the future. That evening when Jack returned, they sat outside his house watching the sunset. Xena told him about the messages from her world. "My people are not patient," she explained. "They want to move forward with official contact." Jack looked thoughtful. "What do you think should happen?" he asked. Xena considered the question. Before coming to Earth, she would have given the official answer. Contact leaders establish trade agreements, exchange knowledge, begin integration. But now she was not sure. "Your world is so different from mine," she said. "My people value order, efficiency, sameness. Yours seems to value freedom, choice, diversity. How can such different species work together?" Jack watched the colors change in the sky. "Maybe that's exactly why we should work together," he said. "We could learn from each other." Xena thought about all she had learned in her time with Jack, about humans, about Earth, about herself. Her people had advanced technology, stable societies, and long lives, but humans had something her people had lost: the ability to wonder, to change, to feel deeply, to dance under the stars without planning each step. Perhaps Jack was right. Perhaps both worlds could be better through knowing each other. If only the first contact could be handled with care. "You should meet Kate," Jack said suddenly. Xena looked at him with confusion. "Kate is our mayor," he explained. "She leads our towns, is wise and kind. If anyone could help plan a good meeting between our worlds, it would be her." The next day, Jack took Xena to meet Mayor Kate. She was an older human with gray hair and sharp eyes. Jack explained who Xena was and why she had come to Earth. Xena expected fear or disbelief. Instead, Kate nodded calmly, as if meeting aliens was a normal part of her day. "So you've been hiding in our little town studying us," Kate said with a small smile. Xena started to apologize, but Kate waved her hand. "No, need to be sorry. It's what I would have done too." They talked for hours. Kate asked thoughtful questions about Xena's world, their technology, their society. She shared insights about Earth, politics, human nature, and the challenges they might face. By the end of the meeting, Xena felt hope. Kate agreed to help arrange a meeting with higher government officials, but she warned it must be done carefully. "Humans fear what they don't understand," she explained. "We need to prepare them. Show them this can be a good thing." As they left Kate's office, Jack squeezed Xena's hand. "See, I told you she would help." Xena felt a warm feeling spread through her at his touch. These human gestures of connection were becoming important to her. That night, they sat on Jack's porch, looking at the stars. In 2 days, Kate would bring government officials to meet Xena. The first official contact between their worlds would begin. Jack seemed quieter than usual. "Is something wrong?" Xena asked. He looked at her, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "What happens after?" he asked. "When the officials come? When more of your people arrive?" Xena had been avoiding this question even in her own mind. "I don't know," she admitted honestly. "My mission was to make contact, to start the process. After that, others will take over: diplomats, scientists, leaders." Jack nodded, looking back at the stars. "And you?" he asked. "Where will you be?" The question hit Xena with unexpected force. Where would she be? The logical answer was that she would return to her world, report on her mission, receive new assignments, continue her life as it was before. But the thought brought no joy. Before coming to Earth, her path had been clear. Now everything seemed uncertain. "I don't know," she said again. Jack reached for her hand, holding it gently. "I would miss you," he said simply. The words were few, but they changed everything. On her world, people did not speak of missing others. Relationships were practical, not emotional. Needed, not wanted. Yet in those 4 words, Xena heard something that moved her deeply. "Would miss you too," she replied. The truth of it surprised her. In a few short weeks, this world had become important to her. More than important. Essential. As they sat in silence watching the night sky, Xena realized she faced a choice no one from her world had ever faced before: to follow the planned path, or to create a new one, to return to order or to embrace chaos, to be what she was born to be or to become something new. The stars above seemed to wait for her answer. The day of the official meeting arrived with clear skies and warm sunshine. Kate had arranged for 3 government officials to come to Pine Creek. She chose people she trusted, who would keep open minds. Xena prepared her ship, making it presentable for human visitors. Jack helped cleaning and setting up chairs outside where the meeting would take place. As they worked, Jack seemed nervous. These people are important. He said their decisions could change everything. Xena nodded, understanding his concern. Officials arrived in black cars with small flags on the front. 2 men and 1 woman, all wearing formal clothes and serious expressions. Kate greeted them, explaining they were about to see something extraordinary. When Xena stepped forward, the officials stared with wide eyes. 1 man reached for something in his jacket, but Kate placed a hand on his arm. "She is a friend," she said firmly. Xena greeted them in perfect English. "Welcome to my ship. I am Xena of the Celesti people." The woman official recovered, first extending her hand. "I am Patricia Harris. These are my colleagues John and Alan." Xena invited them to sit in the chairs outside her ship. She explained why she had come to Earth, how her people had been watching human development for many years, how they believed it was time for official contact. The officials asked many questions, some diplomatic, some practical, some suspicious. How many Celesti were there? What were their intentions toward Earth? What technology would they share? Xena answered honestly, sometimes saying she did not have authority to make specific promises through it all. Jack stood quietly nearby. When Xena invited the officials to see inside her ship, they hesitated. Jack stepped forward. "Have been inside many times," he said. "It's perfectly safe." His calm confidence seemed to reassure them. As they toured the ship, the officials became more relaxed. Their questions showed growing interest rather than fear. Patricia was particularly interested in Celesti medical technology. John asked about energy systems. Alan wanted to know about their society and government. When they returned outside, Patricia spoke formally. "This is clearly a matter for higher authorities, but I believe this contact could benefit both our worlds. We will arrange a meeting with more senior officials as soon as possible." Xena thanked them for their open minds. Kate invited everyone to her home for a meal to continue discussions. As they walked toward town, Jack fell into step beside Xena. "That went well," he said, smiling. Xena nodded but felt uncertain. The meeting had been successful, but it marked the beginning of bigger changes. At Kate's home, the conversation continued. The officials shared stories about their work, their families, their lives. Xena told them about her world, its beauty and challenges. Slowly, the formal atmosphere relaxed. By the end of the meal, they were laughing together. Patricia looked at Xena with thoughtful eyes. "You know, when I woke up today, meeting an alien was not on my schedule." Everyone laughed, but now I can't imagine a more important day in history. Patricia continued, "The way you speak about your world makes it real to us. Not just a scientific discovery, but a place with its own life and history." Jack nodded his eyes, meeting Xena across the table. As the officials prepared to leave, they made plans for the next meeting. This time with scientists and higher government representatives. It would take place in 1 week. Patricia turned to Xena before leaving. "Is there anything you need in the meantime?" Xena thought for a moment. "I would like to continue learning about your world if possible." Patricia smiled. "I think that's wise. The more we understand each other, the better." After everyone left, Xena and Jack walked back toward her ship. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors Xena had never seen on her world, deep oranges fading to purples and blues. "Do all Earth sunsets look like this?" she asked. Jack shook his head. "Each one is different, that's what makes them special." They stopped at the edge of the forest 1 week. Xena said 1 week. "Until everything changes." Jack nodded. "Are you afraid?" he asked. Xena considered the question. On her world, fear was seen as a weakness, something to overcome through logic and planning. But here on Earth, she had learned that feelings could be a kind of wisdom. "Yes," she admitted, "I am afraid." "So am I," Jack said, "but I'm also hopeful." Xena looked at him, questioning. "Hopeful? Why?" Jack gestured toward the town. "Today I saw humans and a Celesti talking, laughing, sharing. A meal, if that can happen, anything is possible." His simple faith moved her. This was what drew her to him, his ability to see beyond the present moment, to imagine better possibilities. The next few days passed quickly. More officials visited, some military, some scientific. Xena answered endless questions, showed parts of her technology. Explained Celesti history. Jack was always nearby, sometimes speaking, sometimes just offering his quiet support. One evening, after a particularly long meeting, Xena found Jack at his favorite spot overlooking the mountains. "The meeting went well," she said, sitting beside him. Jack nodded, but seemed distracted. "What's wrong?" she asked. He looked at her, his eyes serious. "All these officials, all these plans, they talk about trade, technology, diplomatic relations, but no one talks about people, about how Celesti and humans might live together, not just work together." Xena understood his concern. Her own people thought the same way. System structures, agreements. But Jack was right behind. All the official plans were people who would be affected. "I'm worried," he continued, "that once all the important people take over, you'll be sent home. And all this, all we've learned together, will be forgotten." Xena had worried about the same thing. Each day brought more officials, more plans, more structure. The simple connection she had found in Pine Creek seemed in danger of being lost. "What would you want to happen?" she asked. Jack looked up at the darkening sky. "I want both our worlds to be better for knowing each other, not just sharing technology, but sharing ways of living, learning from each other." He turned to her, his voice softer. "And I want you to be part of it. Whatever happens." The words touched something deep in Xena. On her world, no one would say such things. Needs were practical, goals were logical. Personal wants had no place in important decisions. Yet here was Jack speaking from his heart, and she found herself wanting to do the same. "I want that too," she said. For days, Xena had been sending reports home, careful, formal descriptions of meetings and progress, but she had not shared her deeper thoughts, her growing feeling that the rigid structure of Celesti society might not be the only way to live, her sense that humans, with all their chaos, had preserved something precious. That night she sent a different kind of message. She wrote about Jack, about Pine Creek, about dance and music and sunsets, about how humans found joy in imperfection and growth in change. She wrote that true exchange between their worlds should include not just technology but ways of seeing and being. It was not a proper report. Her superiors might not understand, but it was true. In 1 week the Celesti delegation would arrive. Scientists, diplomats, officials. The human government was preparing a formal welcome. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Yet as Xena looked at the stars that night, she wondered, could plans include the unexpected? Could order embrace a little chaos? Could a path have room for choices? The day the Celesti delegation arrived changed everything. 3 large ships descended from the sky, landing in a field outside Pine Creek. Humans gathered to watch, some afraid, some excited, all amazed. Xena stood with Jack as her people emerged from their ships, tall, blue-skinned beings with formal movements and identical expressions. Seeing them through Jack's eyes, Xena noticed things she never had before: how alike they all looked, how measured their gestures were, how little emotion showed on their faces. The lead delegate approached Xena. "Researcher Xena, your work has prepared the way for official contact." His words were correct but held no warmth. Jack stood beside her, his presence a contrast to the formal Celesti. The human officials arrived, led by Patricia. Greetings were exchanged, schedules confirmed, meeting places established. Everything proceeded according to protocol, yet Xena felt a growing distance between herself and her people, as if her time on Earth had changed her in ways they could not understand. That evening, the Celesti leaders asked to speak with Xena alone. They reviewed her reports, asked detailed questions about human technology and resources. Finally, the lead delegate, Mentor Zorn, looked at her with careful eyes. "Your reports have been useful but concerning." Xena waited, knowing what was coming. "You speak of humans with unusual favor," he continued. "You suggest their chaotic systems have value. You even propose we might learn from them, not just teach them." Xena nodded. "I do believe these things." Zorn exchanged glances with the others. "This is why researchers are not left alone on assignment for extended periods. You have been influenced by their primitive thinking." Xena felt a flash of something new. Not fear, not uncertainty, but anger. "Their thinking is different, not primitive," she said. "Their society values individual choice, creativity, emotion. These are not flaws. They are different strengths." Zorn looked surprised at her response. "You will return home on the next transporter," said. "Your assignment is complete. Others will handle relations with humans now." Xena had expected this, but still felt the impact of his words. She would be sent away from Earth, from Jack, from the place where she had discovered new parts of herself. "What if I wish to stay?" she asked. The question shocked the delegates. No Celesti had ever made such a request. "Stay on a primitive world," Zorn said with disbelief. "Why would you choose that?" "Because I have learned things here that matter to me. Because I believe our worlds can help each other grow. Because." Xena paused, then spoke the truth. "I have found connection here that I never knew on our world." The delegates looked at her as if she had become a stranger. Connections, emotions, choices. These were not Celesti values. "You have been away too long," Zorn said. "Your thinking has become disordered. You will return home for reintegration." Xena knew what that meant. Treatment to restore proper Celesti thought patterns, to remove the influence of human ideas and feelings, make her the same as everyone else again. The thought filled her with dread. That night she met Jack at their spot overlooking the mountains. The stars seemed especially bright, as if watching to see what would happen. Xena told him about the meeting. "With her people, they want me to return home," she said. Jack was quiet for a long time. "Will you go?" he finally asked. The question hung between them, heavy with meaning, on her world. The answer would be simple. Follow orders, fulfill your function, maintain the system. But Earth had taught her to question, to choose, to feel. "I don't want to go." Xena said the words, feeling strange and powerful. "I want to stay here to learn more about Earth, about humans." She looked at Jack. "About you?" Jack reached for her hand. Then, "Stay." Two simple words, as if the choice could be that easy. "But I would be turning away from my people, my world, everything I have known." Jack nodded, understanding the weight of her decision. "What would happen if you stayed?" Xena considered. "They would not force me to return physically, but I would be cut off from my world, perhaps forever. The first Celesti to choose a different path. You wouldn't be alone." Jack said. The words were gentle but strong, like Jack himself. Xena looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there was her homeworld, perfect, ordered, predictable. Here was Earth, messy, changing, full of surprises and feelings. Both were part of her. Now could she choose one without losing the other? The next day, meetings began between Celesti delegates and human officials. Xena attended, translating when needed, explaining cultural differences. Jack came too, watching quietly from the side. The discussions were formal, technical, focused on practical matters. Technology exchange, research, cooperation, resource sharing. No one spoke of music or dance or watching sunsets. No one asked what might make both worlds happier, not just more efficient. During a break, Patricia approached. "Xena, your people are very focused on systems," she said with a smile. Xena nodded. "That is our way." Patricia looked thoughtful. "But you seem different from them, more open, more interested in us as people, not just as potential allies." Xena did not know how to respond. Before coming to Earth, she had been like them. Earth had changed. Her Jack had changed. Her, or perhaps they had simply helped her discover parts of herself that had always existed. After 3 days of meetings, the delegates reached preliminary agreements. The Celesti would share certain technologies. Humans would allow Celesti researchers to study Earth. Further talks would establish deeper cooperation. Everything was proceeding as planned. Except for Xena. On the 4th day, Zorn informed her. The transport leaves tomorrow. You will return with us. Preparations have been made for your reintegration. Your replacement has been briefed on your work here. Xena nodded but made no promise. That night she went to Jack's house. They sat on his porch watching the stars appear one by one. Tomorrow I must decide, Xena said. Jack took her hand. What does your heart tell? You heart. Celesti did not speak of hearts except as biological organs. But Xena understood what he meant. The part of her that felt, not just thought. The part that had awakened on Earth. My heart is torn, she said. I belong to my world, my people, my history, but I have found something here I never knew I was missing. Jack looked at her with those kind eyes that had welcomed her from the first day. What would you miss most if you left Earth? Xena thought about sunsets and music, about the chaos and beauty of human lives, about the feeling of dancing without planning each step. About Jack. All of it, she said, but mostly the freedom to choose to change, to feel. Jack nodded. I think you already know your answer. The next morning, Xena went to her ship. She sent a message to the delegation. I request to remain on Earth as permanent liaison between our worlds. I believe my experience here makes me uniquely qualified for this role. The response was immediate and firm. Request denied. You will return as scheduled. Xena took a deep breath and sent her reply. Then I respectfully inform you that I am choosing to stay. I will share no Celesti secrets, but I will not return. It was done. She had made her choice. When Jack arrived at her ship, she told him. His smile was like sunrise. The delegation sent messages demanding she reconsider, threatening consequences. Warning of regrets. Xena felt sadness at the break with her people, but also a new feeling, freedom. Patricia arrived looking concerned. Your people tell me you're refusing to leave. Xena nodded. I wish to stay on Earth. Patricia looked surprised but not disapproving. That would create complications but also opportunities. You would be the first Celesti citizen to live among us. A true bridge between worlds. Xena felt hope rise if human officials accepted her choice. It might open a path, a new kind of exchange between worlds, not just of technology, but of ways to live. The official meetings ended with agreements signed. The Celesti delegation prepared to leave. Zorn came to see Xena one last time. Your choice is without precedent, he said. You will be alone. The first Celesti to abandon our ways. Xena looked at him with new understanding. I am not abandoning our ways, but adding to them. Perhaps someday what I learn here will benefit our world too. Zorn seemed doubtful but less harsh than before. The path back will remain open should you change your mind. It was as close to acceptance as she could expect. As the Celesti ships rose into the sky, Xena stood with Jack. Human officials nearby watched the departure. What now? Patricia asked. Xena looked at Jack, then at the town of Pine Creek. Now we build bridges, she said, real ones between our worlds. Not just official agreements, but understanding. Patricia nodded. I think you may be the right person for that job. Later, Xena and Jack returned to their spot overlooking the mountains. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that never grew old. What must I do to marry you? Xena asked suddenly. Jack looked surprised, then laughed. That question again. He had told her weeks ago that humans usually dated before marriage, that they took time to be sure. But Xena was sure. Jack took her hands. On Earth, marriage means choosing each other every day, not just once. It means building a life together, through all changes. It means finding home in another person. Xena understood. That was exactly what she wanted. Then yes. Jack said, his eyes shining. I will marry you. Under the Earth sky with stars beginning to appear, Xena felt truly at home. She had traveled across space to find her place. Not in a perfect world, but in an imperfect one. Not in sameness, but in difference. Not in certainty, but in choice. The path ahead was unknown. There would be challenges, misunderstandings, struggles, but also sunsets and music, and dancing, and Jack, two beings from different worlds, had found each other, and in that finding, perhaps their worlds might find new ways forward too. What must I do to marry you? The question that had begun as research had become the most important question of her life, and the answer was simple. Choose love, choose change, choose hope every day.